Hello, boys and girls. Glad you could come today for our story book time. Today I have a story. It's called The Ugly Vegetables. And this is the book, The Ugly Vegetables. And I noticed here on the front of the cover a little girl. She's right there. And also, I believe that might be her mother. Can you see? I also noticed that they're standing in a garden. They're standing right there in a garden full of vegetables. As I read the title again, The Ugly Vegetables, I wonder if she thinks these vegetables are ugly. I wonder if that's what she's thinking. Let's read and find out. In the spring, I helped my mother start our garden. We used tall shovels. In their hands, a tall shovel. That's a tool. To turn the grass upside down. And I saw pink worms in the dirt. They wriggled around. It was hard work. When we stopped to rest, we saw that the neighbors were starting their gardens too. She noticed a neighbor back there. They were starting a garden too. Neighbors are people that live next door to you in your same community. I wonder what they will plant in their garden. That's what she's thinking. Hello, Irma. My mother called to Mrs. Crummerin. Mrs. Crummerin was digging too, and she was using a small shovel, one that fit right in her hand. She has a, they have a tall, she has a small shovel that fit right in her hand. Mommy, I asked, why are we using such big shovels? And Miss Crummerin is using a small shovel. The little girl is comparing. She's comparing the things that they're using in their garden with the things that the neighbors are using. Yeah, she can tell that they are different. When you compare things, you can see that they're different. I bet they are planting something different from their garden, in their garden. And they're planting something different than from the neighbor. Because our garden needs more digging, is what Mama said when she asked about why they had bigger shovels. I helped my mother plant the seeds, and we dragged the hose. That's a hose. The water's coming out of the water hose that she's holding. Drag the hose to the garden. Hi, Linda. Hi, Mickey. They waved, and I called to the Fitzgeralds. Those are the Fitzgeralds, the other neighbors over there. She was calling to them. They were sprinkling water on their gardens with a green water can. So they had little watering cans for their plant, while her and her mother had a hose. She was comparing. They had something different. Mommy, I asked, why are they using a hose? Why are we using a hose? I'm sorry. And Linda and Mickey are using a water can. She was wondering why they were using something different. Because our garden needs more water, she said. That's what her mom had told her, that their garden needed more water. So they needed a watering hose so more water could come out instead of a watering can when you just sprinkle a little bit of water. Then my mother drew a funny picture on a piece of paper. And I stuck them into the garden. Hello, Roseanne. That's Roseanne, their other neighbor, way back there in her house, right there. My mother called across the street to Mrs. Angelo. Mommy asked, why are we sticking these papers in the garden? Mrs. Angelo has seed packages in her garden. That's what Miss Angelo's seed packets look like. But her mommy, was making a different kind with different little drawing on it. Can you see that? And she wanted to know why. Her mom said, because our garden is going to grow Chinese vegetables. Oh, that's what she told her. That's what she told me, she said. These are the names of the vegetables in Chinese. That's another language. We speak English, but their family must be from China because they speak Chinese and they're writing in Chinese. She said there's going to be a Chinese vegetable garden, so I can tell which plants are growing where. That's why they had a different sign on their plants, because they're going to have a Chinese garden. Mama was writing in Chinese on that paper. One day I saw her garden growing. Ooh, she was observing. She saw the garden growing. Little green stems that looked like grass had popped out from the ground. Our garden's growing, I yelled. Our garden's growing. I rushed over to the neighbor's garden to see if theirs had grown. Their plants looked like little leaves. Just like, see ya? But her garden, it looked like little grass. Mommy asked, why do our plants look different? She had another question. Why do our plants look like grass? The neighbor's plants look different. Because they're growing flowers, she said. Why can't we grow flowers? I asked. These are better than flowers, she said. Mom said what they were growing were better than flowers. I don't think she could see that yet. Oh, I see. My prediction was right. The girl and her mom are growing Chinese vegetables, which are different from what the neighbors are growing. So we were right. They do look different. Their neighbors are growing flowers in the garden. That explains why they were using different tools than the neighbors. So the neighbors were using a different tool because they were growing something different. They're growing flowers and they're growing vegetables. So it's going to look a little different. Soon all the neighbors' gardens were blooming. Were blooming up and down the street grew rainbows of flowers. Oh my, you could see those flowers blooming, and those flowers are blooming, blooming flowers everywhere, and it looked just like a rainbow. It did. I wonder if she doesn't think her garden is beautiful because her garden doesn't have the same rainbow flowers. I wonder if she thinks it's not beautiful. She is comparing her garden to the neighbors And she notices that it only has green leaves in her garden, but the neighbors are blossoms. Flowers have popped up, but not in hers. I wonder if she thought that theirs were more beautiful. The wind always smells sweet, and the butterflies and bees. There's a butterfly and the bees here. They flew everywhere. Everyone's garden was beautiful except ours. Yep, we were right. She thought her garden wasn't beautiful because it didn't have any flowers. And look at her face. She's talking to her mom now. Our garden was all dark green and ugly. Why didn't we grow flowers? I asked again. These are better than flowers, Mom said again. I looked but saw only black, purple, green vines and fuzzy, wrinkled leaves, prickly stems, and a few little yellow flowers. I don't think so, I said. You wait and see, Mommy said to her. See, she didn't think hers was beautiful because she could only see old prickly vines and everything's green and nothing is colorful. So she said, I don't think so. Mom said, you wait and see. But before long, our vegetables grew. Oh, look at that. Some were big and lumpy. Some were thin and green and covered with bumps. Some were just plain icky yellow. They were ugly vegetables. Wow. Look at all that stuff in the garden. I think we figured it out. Look at the two gardens. She must think that the neighbor's garden is more attractive because it is filled with beautiful bright colors compared to her garden, which is only grew green and yellow, lumpy and icky vegetable. That must be the reason why she thinks her garden is ugly. Sometimes I would go over to the neighbors over there and I would look at their pretty garden. They would show the poppies and the peonies and the petunias to me. They would show the different kinds of flowers that had names, poppies and petunias. And I would feel sad that our garden wasn't as nice. Oh, that made her feel like her garden wasn't as nice. She couldn't see all those beautiful colors compared to her garden with all the green and leafy stuff. I think that she's probably feeling sad about that. One day, my mother and I picked the vegetables from the garden. We picked them. We filled the wheelbarrow full of them. We put all those vegetables in that wheelbarrow right there. That's to carry the vegetables. We wheeled them to the kitchen. My mother washed them. Shh, 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 shh. She watched. You have to wash vegetables too, because they've been outside and been in the dirt. So when you get in the house, you gotta wash them. Shh, 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 shh. So they washed them, and they took a big knife over here, and they started to chop, 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 chop those vegetables. Aye, ew, she said when she cut them. She had to use her muscles. The vegetables were hard and tough. Ayu, she said. This is Jehuga, Mommy said, handing me a bumpy, curled vegetable. God, that's a funny name. She pointed to the other vegetables. This is Ainja. Yeah, that sounds a little different than English. I think that's Chinese. And that's Dong Ho. As she kept pointing and showing her the different kinds of vegetables and telling the name of that vegetable. It looks like they are about to prepare something right here. Because they're chopping things up on the kitchen table. She's telling her the different names of the vegetables. I went outside to play. While I was playing catch with Mickey, a magical aroma filled the air. She could smell something. It's an aroma, a smell. As she played with Mickey, she could smell something. I saw the neighbors standing on their porches with their eyes closed like this. I think they probably were smelling it too. They had their eyes closed and they were smelling the sky. They took deep breaths of the air and like they were trying to eat and smell. They were acting like they were trying to eat that smell because it smelled so good. They carried it up and down the street. The wind carried it, up and down the street. The wind carried it up and down the street. Even the bees and the butterflies seemed to smell the scent of the breeze. Yes, everybody was enjoying that smell going through the air. Up, down. Everyone was getting a nice smell. I smelled it too. It made me hungry. And it was coming from my house. Oh my. That smell was actually coming from her house. And she could smell it too. I wonder if that magical aroma or smell could be coming from something they prepared with the vegetables. Let's find out. When I followed the smell to the house, my mother was putting a big bowl of soup on the table. The soup was yellow and red and green and pink. This is a special soup, Mommy said, and she smiled. She gave me a small bowl full of it, and I tasted it. It was so good, the flavors of the soup seemed to dance in my mouth and laugh all the way down to my stomach. I smiled. Do you like it? Mommy asked. I nodded and held out my bowl for some more. It's made from our vegetables, she told me. Yeah. Then the doorbell rang and we ran to open the door. Yep, they had put all those vegetables in a bowl and made a soup. And it smelled so good. I am thinking that she must feel a little different about her ugly vegetables now. These vegetables that she thought were so ugly and icky actually turned out to be something so good and delicious when she ate them. Yeah. Remember, she thought that her vegetables were so ugly. And look, now everyone is enjoying the vegetables. It was the best dinner ever. Look at all the people that came to share and enjoy the soup from the vegetables in her garden. Wow. The next spring, when my mother was starting her garden, we planted some flowers next to the Chinese vegetables. Mrs. Krummerin, the Fitzgeralds, the Angelos planted some Chinese vegetables next to their flowers. Soon, see all of those people who are there planting? And so the whole neighborhood was growing Chinese vegetables. Everyone was growing the Chinese vegetables now in the neighborhood. They were growing them in their own gardens. Some looked like leaves and some looked like grass. And when the flowers started blooming, you could smell soup in the air. Remember in the beginning, the little girl thought that her vegetables were so ugly. Instead of a vegetable garden, she wanted a flower garden like the rest of the neighbors. Now, all the neighbors decided to grow vegetables along with their flowers. I think that's a great story. The end. So I think that the little girl might have changed her mind about the ugly vegetables. We'll read it again a little bit later. We'll read it another time and talk about some more things that happened in the ugly vegetable. I hope you enjoyed the story and have a great